Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. It is Friday, May 15th, for those who need to know that information. I have to remind myself about these days. During the kind of the heart of our stay at home time, I saw a meme making some circles on, making some traction on the internet, and it basically said something along the lines of, it's good to remember our first responder heroes, but the real heroes in all of this are our children. And the fact that they are, staying in home and enduring this time of pandemic. And I think I had a couple reactions and responses to that, but I think the whole concept of general is fraught. But I do think it is important to remember kids and younger people and teenagers right now. And that really, this week in particular, has been what's been on the forefront of my thinking and my heart, especially as we gather each week on Wednesday for our family story time, for our youth group check-in on Wednesday evenings, and then youth group on Sunday. I'm I can tell and starting to see that there are some cracks emerging, that some of the stress is cumulative, and our kids and youth are struggling in some ways, and that really concerns me. And I think we all are, dealing with our own issues. But I was, in preparation for this brief time together, I was trying to find some resources for parents, for families, some suggestions on how to support kids and youth. And there's some good stuff out there. There's some less good stuff out there. But I did come across a few ideas, and to share them, I think one of the things that was suggested is to really pay attention to managing our own anxiety. So for adults who have children in their lives, it's important for us to pay attention to our own anxiety, our own stress, and make sure that we're doing what we can to keep ourselves physically healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, so that we can be available to the children in our lives. And that's common sense, but I also think it's an important reminder. Said also to watch out for catastrophic thinking. So to not to be always in the place of this is horrible, it's the worst, but to try to engage in solution-based thinking when we can. That's really reassuring for children and teenagers to see adults taking that approach. There were some other suggestions. Keep routines. Again, that's kind of common sense and not earth-shattering, but I think it's more difficult in these times to keep routines. So as much as we can to maintain sleep schedules and meal times and times for recreation and whatever routines we have, to really move deeply into those. There was also this suggestion of making plans, and I know some of us have said that it's so hard to make plans right now. But there really are some ways we can make plans. We could make plans to have a family picnic together. We could make plans to sleep in the backyard and roast marshmallows together. We could make plans to, do different things as a family, to have a movie night. I think sometimes just the act of making plans and then giving kids assignments to prepare for that, so to have them help assemble whatever we need for the activity, or even make plans for a special meal and include kids in preparing that meal. That was one suggestion that I think was also worthy of consideration. There was, other things like, just checking in with little kids on their feelings, that there are ways to find quiet times to simply ask your child, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And really listening to that. And then when it comes to teenagers, there were two things that I found helpful. One was to understand their frustration, and particularly understand their frustration in not being able to see their friends. Teenagers in particular, and this is so true for those in our church community, are really missing their friends. That their friends make up the largest part of their support systems, and when they don't have that interaction, that's really difficult, and it's painful, and it's hard, and it's frustrating. So hearing that teenage frustration of not being able to get together with their friends like they were able to do so. And then finally, to understand their disappointment, to listen to it, don't judge it, validate the feelings that the teenagers are feeling, their disappointment in not having graduation ceremonies and not having proms and not all these things that are kind of rites of passage. And so I offer those to you and to me, and I'll post a couple the two articles that I just pulled from in the Facebook chat after this goes up. But I think whatever we can do, days and weeks, to be extra sensitive and aware of how the children in our lives are feeling and is really important. And we'll continue to do that as best we can with those in our church community. But I just encourage us all to make sure that we're touching base with our children. They are not necessarily heroes, I think, in enduring this, but they are enduring it together with all of us. And we have to really understand the special impact that this time has on those younger people in our lives. So I wish you all a good Friday. I hope you can take moments to breathe deeply, stop and smell flowers, and just have some time for renewal and restoration. Have a good weekend, everybody.